Welcome everybody to the Keeping Score podcast presented by Corwin Motors. I am your host, Josh Amick. This week's episode, the soccer season comes to an end. Volleyball starts their divisional rounds, and 3 football teams in the Valley advance to the second round of the playoffs. So without further ado, let's get into it. In the Class A soccer matchup between Whitefish and Billings for the state championship, Billings Central was down 2-0 after Kyler Johnson scored both goals. Unfortunately, Billings Central came storming back to tie the game before scoring the game-winning goal in overtime to claim the state title 3-2. Congratulations to Whitefish, though, on a great season. In Class A volleyball, Bigfork defeated Ronan 3-2 on Monday and will play Frenchtown this Thursday in divisionals at 2 p.m. Dillon plays Columbia Falls at 10 a.m. and Whitefish plays Corvallis at noon, all on Thursday. Now keep in mind that in Class A, the divisionals are used to determine the seeding, so these 3 games will determine a lot of the state tournament matchups. Best of luck to all the teams at the Class A level. Elsewhere in volleyball for Class AA, Flathead plays at Hellgate and Glacier plays at Butte. Both Flathead and Glacier's games are to determine the 3 and 4 seeds out of the West for their state tournaments. That is all the major news in the area, so now let's get into this week's Valley football recap. In the first round of the playoffs, it was an instant classic back-and-forth game between Whitefish and Bigfork. Whitefish jumped out to an early 17-0 lead, taking that lead into halftime on 2 touchdown passes by Carson Golick before Bigfork came storming back. In the third quarter, Bigfork's quarterback Cole Schmidt found Tamrit Savick for a 21-yard touchdown pass, and later Schmidt ran one in from 8 yards out to make it 17-14 with 5:41 left in the fourth quarter. Bigfork then took the lead on Tatum West's 8-yard touchdown run, but Whitefish responded. On their final drive, Carson Golick dove and flipped into the end zone on 4th and goal with 41 seconds left in the game to put Whitefish ahead for good and a 24-21 victory. Whitefish advanced to the second round and will now play the top seed in the East, Billings Central. Columbia Falls hosted Corvallis in their first round matchup, and this game was all Wildcats. Quarterback Banyan Johnston accounted for 5 touchdowns as the Columbia Falls Wildcats advanced to the second round of the playoffs with their 42-16 home victory. They head to Laurel next week for their second round matchup. Time still yet to be determined. With Glacier holding the top seed in the West, they had a bye week, but will host Butte Friday at 7 p.m. at home. So go out and support the only local team that is playing in the area this week. That'll do it for this week's episode of the Keeping Score podcast, and thanks as always to our sponsor, Corwin Motors. Good luck to the volleyball and football teams in their rounds of the playoffs, and we'll see you all next week on another episode of the Keeping Score podcast. Take care. Thanks to Corwin Motors for sponsoring the Keeping Score podcast. At Corwin Motors, they're proud to be family-driven for over 100 years. Their commitment goes beyond selling cars. They're dedicated to serving our community and providing you with the highest quality vehicles to fit your lifestyle. Whether you're searching for reliability, style, or comfort, they got you covered. They understand that you rely on their website for accurate and up-to-date information, and it's their promise to deliver relevant, detailed content that meets your needs. So if you're in the market for a new Chevrolet or just want to learn more, visit CorwinMotorsKalispell.com.